coming down to Jackson Town. Take you places you ain't never been. Can lock me out, tell me not to come around. But you know I'll just come back again. Oh, Evangeline, ain't nothing that could keep me from your side. Oh, Evangeline, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. Try to say that you found another love. You could try to tell yourself we're through. But all the armies and all the kingdoms of the world can never hold me back from you. Evangeline, nothing that could keep me from your side. Oh, Evangeline, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. The sun, the moon, and the stars, my dear, all fell down to the ground. I found you. You're deceived if you believe I'll let you leave, 'cause we ain't through. You know this much is true. When they lay me down in a pine box in the ground, in my lonesome grave you stand. Lie down and hold the grass above the man you love. Haste the day when you hold me once again. Oh, Evangeline, there ain't nothing that could keep me from your side. Oh, Evangeline, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. You're mine, you're mine, you're mine. You're mine, you're mine. You're mine.
Math is everywhere you look. It's in everything you do. And it can be fun to use. Join us for today's episode of Math Everywhere, with Renee Harris, our host.
Hello, and welcome to Math Everywhere. I'm Renee Harris, your math magician, helping you to see the magic in math. Today, we're at the Downtown High School, visiting the Culinary Arts program. Let's take a look and see how the kids are using math while they're cooking. Let's see what's cooking. Hey Gavin, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great. What we got making today?
We're making some banana bread.
We're making some banana bread, and look at what you're doing right there. She's measuring ingredients. That's math. Tell us more about what you're gonna measure here, Gavin.
We're gonna measure everything. We measure out the buttermilk right in here with our liquid measuring cup.
Yes.
And then we're gonna measure our dry ingredients with our dry measuring cups.
And at home, if you're cooking, you may not have all these wonderful measuring utensils, but guess what? If you have a half a cup, you can use 2 half cups to make 1 cup. Is that right, Gavin?
Sure is.
Do you all ever have to convert anything while you're... Like what? Give us an example.
We have to convert tablespoons to ounces all the time.
Hey, look who I found. It's Chef Harris. He's the instructor here at the Downtown High School in the Culinary Arts program. So today, we're paying attention to all the wonderful ingredients that Gavin is measuring for that banana bread.
Yes.
And we're talking a little bit about conversions.
Yes.
We're talking a little bit about how if there's, like, and we're cooking at home, we may not have all these wonderful measuring tools.
Right.
Maybe we only have a 4th cup.
Absolutely.
And so we talked about what we could do if a recipe called for a half cup, but we only have a 4th cup.
Right.
Do you all ever have to do any kind of conversions like that here in class?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Give us an example of what something you have to do.
So what I'll do is if we have let's say we're using ground beef for the day.
Yes.
If they know that they need a pound, I'll make them convert that into ounces before they can take it. And so
Pounds
they'll
to
come
ounces.
Yeah, pounds to ounces.
Yes.
So when they come to the table, I need to know how many ounces is this, and if they can answer it, they get to finish the recipe. If not, they have to figure it out before they can get their ground beef. So
And
I
Chef-
make them convert every day.
Chef Harris, how many ounces are in a pound?
16.
Ah, that's math. So I guess it's that time to put the batter in the pan and pop that in the oven. And again, what's the temperature that oven has got to be set at? 350. That oven has got to be set at 350 degrees. Now, kids, if you're baking at home, make sure you get some parent supervision before you start playing around that oven. So, it looks like I've got my batter. Now, I'm gonna let the professionals finish this off. Did I do a pretty good job of getting that in there?
Pretty good.
All right, so we've got that oven set at 350 degrees. And tell me again how long this banana bread has got to cook.
55 minutes.
55 minutes, which is about an hour. That's time. That's math.
Faster than a school bus. More powerful than a chemistry lab science experiment, with the ability to feed over 45,000 students and clean the cafeteria at lightning speed, it's the Columbus City Schools School Lunch Heroes.
I am the superhero of Cedarwood. I do it all. I take care of all these kids' breakfast, lunch, washing these tables. I'm doing my job. I really do.
With the power to make students smile.
I love everything about serving lunch to the children. I'm probably like the second point of contact for them. So, you know, making sure that I bring a smile to their face every day, that's kind of like, I guess, my superpower as a sparkly hero. I just want to make them smile and make sure the lunch is very good and nutritious for them in the morning.
And the ability to work in all parts of the kitchen.
I started out 23 years ago. I've worked every station, so I know what's expected, so I'm able to work with my crew and let them know what they should be doing. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
These lunch heroes are fighting the battle for truth, justice, and food for all.
So just coming here every single day, giving the kids something to smile about, and it's been great. Like, these kids are great. They're lovely.
Thanks to their hard work and dedication, another day has been saved by the Columbus City Schools Lunch Heroes.
So you start off in Nashville, you come to Columbus, you've been playing Afrocentric. So just tell me in general, Coach, how's it been the last 2 years? How's Afrocentric volleyball? How's the team going? And your vision, you know what I mean? Where are we at?
Honestly, we've been rebuilding, but for us to be a new team, because so the year before, we had maybe 4 seniors. And then we also had Coach Taylor as the head coach. when Coach Taylor left, a lot of our players left as well. And a lot of them left to, like focus on basketball or whatever. So when I became the head coach, I literally started with 4 players that played before.
Okay.
4 players. And it was some team from the year before, but it wasn't like many of them. So it was a rebuilding moment for us. But then this year we lost a lot of players as well. So now I'm down to 3 players who have played Afrocentric varsity volleyball before.
Okay.
So I had a lot of, like freshmen playing varsity, like kind of like playing around with our lineup a lot, especially during the beginning of the season. But we found a way to overcome our battles this season for sure.
Okay.
Our ending record was 14-5.
Okay.
5, yes. So
no, she's doing the math on us. So
that's but that's not. So it's non-conference as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So 5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think honestly, we're a pretty solid team, especially with the 3 people that we have returning.
Yeah.
Having as much knowledge as they do, like within the sport.
Yeah.
We've grown a lot. We are losing Sam, unfortunately, because she is graduating, but we do already have somebody stepping in to take the place of her.
Okay.
So
Next person up. Yeah. So Sam, what's the advice you have for the next wave of young people coming in? I mean, volleyball is your focused sport. So what's the advice you have?
Just don't be too hard on yourself. Stay focused. That's really it. And you gotta stay out your head with volleyball.
Okay.
That's really it.
What does stay focused look like? What does that mean when you say stay focused?
Stay on top of your work.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about nothing else when you get in the gym. That's it.
So now what's next for you? Because summer of 25 would be here before you know it. You snap your finger and turn around once or twice, it'll be the summer of 25. So what's your next plans? What do you hope to be doing here? So if I was to talk to you a year from now, right? Halloween next year of 25, you're where?
I want to go to Arizona State for psychology.
Oh, wow. Do you know anybody? Did you all have family in Arizona? Do you know you do? You're saying yes. So you do know somebody in Arizona?
I guess so.
You guess so? Well, why Arizona State, I guess, is the better question. Like what made you choose such a faraway place?
Because I travel a lot, and when I go to Arizona, it's the only place that I feel like I should be there. Either that or New York, but I think I want to go to Arizona
those
State.
Are polar opposites of direction. So when do you plan on making this decision? I mean, that's a pretty big decision to be making. Have you applied to Arizona State?
I tried to apply last year, but they told me wait till this year.
Wait till this year.
Yeah.
So you're going to apply to Arizona State, and then that's where you hope to be going. And then what's in New York then? So that's a completely different plan, it sounds like.
I don't really know.
You don't know, but just pop up and show up in New York one day. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let me share with you for somebody who spent summers growing up in New York. I have a lot of family in the city. Plan that out, because New York is a monster of a place, right? And so if you just arrive there one day without any real plan in place, New York is a kind of city that'll eat you alive, right? So think that one through a little bit. Talk to your support team, and don't just hop on the train or the plane or the something and just show up in New York one day. It's going to take a little bit more than that for you, okay? So Sam, you're going back to Tennessee. Hopefully that's the plan, right?
Yes.
And do you still plan on continuing to try to play volleyball? Is that, or do you want to hold on to volleyball?
I think once I graduate, I'll probably be letting volleyball go. I don't see myself going and playing in college. I just feel like once I go, I want to major in biology. So I think I'll just focus on my major. But it really depends, honestly. I mean, I have time. Not a lot, but I think I have enough time.
You have time for what?
I have enough time to figure out whether I decide to play. If I do decide to play, I don't see myself going to Tennessee.
Okay.
I'll probably go somewhere else.
Okay.
So it just depends how everything unfolds.
But you plan on playing your senior year in high school though, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you plan on playing, and you're a multi-sport athlete. Mm-hmm. Is that right? What else do you do?
I run track and Yeah, that's it. I run track.
Okay. What's your events in track?
All the sprinting events. I do the 1, 2, 4x1, 4x2, and I don't really touch the 4x4 or the 4 anymore. That was kind of freshman year stuff. I don't really.
The 400 is, I've said on this show many times, listeners know this, the 400 is a monster of a race. I mean, if you've never been asked to sprint one time around the track, I just say this for any person, just go out there one day in your life and try to sprint one time around the track and see what your time is. And then you'll have a very different respect for people who are running 40s in the 400. You go, wow, somebody done ran a 40 some odd seconds in the 400.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. Columbus City Schools and our partner, Nationwide Children's Hospital, recently celebrated 10 years of school health services, a decade of care, collaboration, and community impact. With Columbus City Schools as one of its earliest partners, school health services have grown into a statewide model, ensuring students have access to essential health care right in their schools. Over the past 10 years, more than 43,000 CCS students and their families have received care, opening doors to high-quality health care for students and families across our community. Thank you to Nationwide Children's Hospital and all of our guests who joined in celebrating this milestone partnership and our shared commitment to student well-being. Columbus City Schools proudly joined community partners in hosting this year's CBUS HBCU College Fair, a 2-day celebration of education, culture, and opportunity. On Friday, October 10th, the first event took place at the Columbus Metropolitan Library, where representatives from 20 historically Black colleges and universities connected with more than 600 students who were eager to learn about college life, scholarships, and pathways to success. Students explored possibilities for their futures and met directly with admission staff who were eager to help them take the next step. The celebration continued on Saturday, October 11th at Columbus Afrocentric Early College, where families, alums, and community members came together to engage with college recruiters, explore academic programs, and experience the pride and legacy of HBCUs firsthand. These events reflect our district's ongoing commitment to expanding access to higher education, ensuring every student can see themselves on a path to success. For the second consecutive year, Ecole Kenwood French Immersion has been recognized for the Alliance for a Healthier Generation as one of America's healthiest schools, earning top marks in all 9 categories. This national honor celebrates the school's ongoing commitment to student health, wellness, and community collaboration. From nutritious meals and daily physical activity to social-emotional learning and family engagement, Ecole Kenwood continues to shine as a model of what it means to care for the whole child. Join us in celebrating Ecole Kenwood's outstanding achievement and continued dedication to building a healthy, supportive community for every student. Last Friday night, I had the chance to stop by the Centennial vs. East High School football game with board member Jennifer Adair, and what an incredible experience it was. Beyond the excitement on the field, we visited our new CTE student production truck, operated by our talented TV and film students from Fort Hays Career Center. Watching our students in action, running the cameras, directing live coverage, and managing sound and lighting was inspiring. Each student was leading, demonstrating the technical skills and professionalism that make our CTE program so successful. Thank you to Career Technical Education Director Jenny Mead and Director of Multimedia Paul Brown for creating these hands-on opportunities where students can explore, build, and grow. Calling all Columbus City Schools families, students, and community partners, your voice matters, and we want to hear from you. We're excited to be joining members of Columbus City Schools Board of Education to host multiple public town hall meetings called Our Future, Our CCS. I'm bringing my entire leadership team out to listen to parents, students, residents, and stakeholders as we work to shape the future of our schools together. The public is invited to join us on Monday, October 27th at South High School, Tuesday, October 28th at West High School, Wednesday, October 29th at Mifflin High School. Doors will open at 5 p.m. with sessions beginning at 6 p.m. These sessions will allow the public to share their voices and ideas from transportation and facilities to the learning experiences that drive student success across our district. We hope to see you there. With one voice, we're building a stronger future for our district. These have been your highlights from around the district for October 21st. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Columbus City School Board of Education regular business meeting. Today is October 21st, Tuesday. Mr. Treasurer, can we call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Ingalls?
Here.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Present.
Ms. Vera?
Here.
Vice President Adair?
Present.
President Cole?
I am here. Can we rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. Before we adopt this evening's agenda, we'll give a quick walkthrough. We'll begin, of course, with public speakers. We have, at this point in time, 3 that are scheduled. In addition to that, we'll go through board matters. We have several items to cover in there, and of course, a few important acknowledgments for folks, from our principals to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In addition to that, we have sections 5.1 through 7.1, where our direct reports will provide any comments or reports that they need to provide to the board. In addition to that, we will go through consent agenda, we will approve the consent agenda, which is 8.1 through 25.1. After 25.1, we'll go into adjournment, into executive session. We will move directly into executive session. Post-executive session, as always, we will not return to this room. We will adjourn from where we are. Nobody will have to come back after we go into executive session. Is there a motion to
Motion
accept?
to approve the agenda.
All right, motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Call the roll.
Ms. Ingalls?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes. All right, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, so let's move right into our public comments, our speakers. We have our first speaker who is remote with us. That is Chelsea Chapman. Good evening, Chelsea.
Good evening.
You have 3 minutes.
Hello. Okay, am I able to talk now?
You may go now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, my name is Chelsea Chapman. I'm calling in tonight because I've been dealing with this issue for some time now. I have a 9-year-old son, Landon, who's a student at Colerain Elementary. He loves school, but I'm forced to switch him to home instruction due to the lack of care because my child is medically fragile and standing outside in the elements negatively affects his health. He cannot fight off a cold like you and I can. He ends up in the hospital and he's deathly ill. I'm deeply concerned about the lack of consideration Columbus City Schools shows for disabled students when it comes to transportation safety. Many parents of children with mobility challenges are forced to navigate unsafe conditions, especially in winter, just to get their child to a bus stop. This is not only dangerous, but also fails to meet basic ADA accessibility standards. Our students deserve a transportation system that prioritizes their safety and inclusion all year round. Columbus City Schools talks about inclusion, but their actions speak otherwise. It's time for the district to take responsibility and make real changes.
Matt? Sounds as if.
That's all I have.
I thank you so very much. Dr. Chapman, is there somebody that could actually follow up with her?
Absolutely. A member of our team will follow up with Ms. Chapman.
I thank you so very much for that. Ms. Chapman, I hope that you look forward to being contacted by somebody from the administration to follow up with you on this matter.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything that just went on.
No worries. Someone from the administration is going to follow up with you about your transportation situation for your youngster.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I've spoken to plenty of people, and I've gotten nowhere. I've been dealing with this since August, and every time I've talked to someone, they are not able to help me, and they tell me since I live in an apartment that there's something they can do because we live in an apartment and we don't live in a single-family home, so we don't get the same things that other students get. He can't be picked up from our door because of where we lived.
I thank you. Someone will follow up with you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our next speaker is Michael Brennan. He is also remote. Mr. Brennan, if you are there, you may feel free to begin, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hold on a second. Hello, Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, Carl.
Yes, you may start.
Right, go ahead. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, my name is Michael Brennan. I'm a 1974 graduate of Eastmore High School in Columbus, Ohio, proud member of Columbus Public School Systems. And I wanted to address the board. I think, Michael, you and I spoke earlier before the meeting. And I know you recall that I was very interested in the tanks and polishing your fuel because there are many benefits to doing that. My dad was actually a lobbyist who used to call on Columbus Public Schools. And he was a big supporter of public education. He worked at the Ohio Education Association, and he ran the school employees retirement system during the 1970s. So a couple of times a year, Mom and Dad would host the board members to dinner at our house. So I got to know the drivers, the custodians, and the cafeteria workers, and realized how important these people were to public education. I know that a lot of people come to the board meetings and complain about service, but I'm not here to do that. I think you guys are doing a great job. As you know, the kids who drive diesel school buses breathe twice as much carbon dioxide as kids who walk to school. Currently, 90% of our kids ride to school on existing diesel school buses. I know that Ohio schools have this policy that public schools should pay the tuition money and the transportation money to charter schools. I know that's the case here in Ohio. Still in all, I do think that we should go a different way. What I think we should do is immediately polish the fuel, a mechanical process of removing contaminants in the water and the fuel that our buses burn. There's a lot of molecule growth in this area, and I know that the board has talked to EcoChem, a company that I used to invest in and I used to sell for. Nonetheless, it's sort of like every time you feed your fish in an underground storage tank, they clean the tank. So it's a great process. I hope the board will consider going with polished fuel in your diesel bus fleet. I think it's an environmentally sound strategy that will probably save money, and our kids will be riding to school on better buses that don't pollute as much. And with that, I pretty much close. I appreciate your time. And if I'm under 3 minutes, I'm under 3 minutes.
All right, you made it just in time. I thank you so much, Mr. Brennan, for joining us this evening. Okay, our next speaker is apparently in-house, Ms. Sherry Smith. Good evening. Go take your time. Welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Do I start when you tell me, or I don't know?
You may start as soon as you may begin as soon as you're ready, and once you start, you have 3 minutes.
Do I need to touch the red or green thing here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, just checking. Okay. I'm ready to start. My name is Sherry Smith. I am 68 years old. I have been a resident of Columbus, Ohio, my entire life. And I have several things I want to say. First, I am very concerned about the cancellation of the school buses for high school students. I remember when I was in junior high school, and we used to have to walk from Eureka all the way up to Westmore. It was junior high at that time. And they said the reason they weren't giving us a bus was because we're just a few feet short of the distance that was required to get a school bus. And I remember how hard that was. And I know you're talking about high school students, but the bottom line is that is very hard. I remember getting to school early, and we'd have to get to the door, and I remember the vice president's name. Now, remember, I'm 68 years old, and I was 13 at the time. And I'll never forget the vice president, Mr. Spivey or Spivey, I can't remember exact pronunciation, but I remember him standing inside the building, looking out at us, smiling and grinning, and he would not let us in the building early. And it made me so upset. And I thought about the power that he had, how he would not let us in. I remember feeling as if I had frostbite at the time, numerous times. And I think about these kids and how they'll have to deal with a lot of those type of things. Not necessarily that the principals or vice principals will be so mean. I don't think they're like that anymore, at least I pray not. But the bottom line is, I know that a lot of these parents, they do not have the money to pay for them to ride that bus. You might give them quota passes for the first year, but what about the second, third, fourth? That costs money too. But the bottom line is, we already have a truancy problem. The children need to get on those buses and get to school. We need to have them graduate and be productive citizens, as your video showed earlier. We want them to succeed, but they need your help. They need those buses. A lot of these parents, they are going to be in trouble next month when SNAP benefits might be cut. These parents can't even afford to buy food to put on the table. As you well know, majority of your kids are on what? Free lunch program. How you expect them to pay for a quota bus? I don't understand that. But if I can find out, if you can send me your little budget and I can look through it, I bet you I can find something to be able to cut. Not the teachers, but I can help you find something to cut other than those school buses. High school kids need them, and so do the parents, and so do our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sherry Smith, for joining us this evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, safe travels back home. West side is the best side. West side is the best side.
Well, you know, I love the west side, but I'm on the east side now. But I love Columbus. I don't care where I go. I love Columbus, Ohio.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all
yes,
have a blessed
ma'am.
evening. Thank
You too. Thank you. She shouted out that hilltop, so I had to show some love. Okay, we'll move right on into board matters. We'll take up our first resolution, which is to approve the reopen agreement with Columbus School Employees Association. I will start with reading and entering this as a motion. Whereas representatives of the Columbus Board of Education and the Columbus School Employees Association have been engaged in negotiations for a reopener agreement to the collective bargaining agreement that expires on July 31st, 2026, and whereas the attached documents contained in terms developed through the bargaining process and approved by the Columbus School Education Association on October 18th, 2025, and whereas the document provides the terms of a reopener agreement that shall continue in full force in effect through July 31st, 2026, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves an agreement with the Columbus School Employees Association based on the terms described in the attached document. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent prior to the publishing and with the agreement of the Columbus School Education Association to make minor editorial corrections and changes as needed, provided such corrections and changes do not result in any modifications of the intent and substance of the agreement. And be it further resolved that the president of the board, superintendent, treasurer, and chief negotiator of the board be authorized and directed to affix their signatures in the agreement as herein described between the Board of Education and the Columbus School Employees Association. This is a motion.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Can we call a roll?
Yes. President Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, board. Thank you so much. And I just want to, again, just reaffirm our commitment to our employees in the organization, and most especially to the work that they dedicate on behalf of children every day. So thank you, and we look forward to continuing our efforts to make Columbus City Schools stronger. With that, we'll move to our next resolution, and I will defer to my Vice President.
I am honored to present the resolution to celebrate the service of Miss Maria Angel to Columbus City Schools. Anyone here for this resolution can come on up. They can come too if you want them.
That's right. Bring them up.
Okay. Whereas the Columbus City Schools Board of Education is proud to honor individuals whose commitment, compassion, and leadership have made a lasting impact on the lives of students, families, and colleagues across the district. And whereas Miss Maria Angel has served with distinction as transition coordinator in the Office of Accelerated and Extended Learning and as a valued member of the Fort Hays Metropolitan Education Center community, supporting students in their pursuit of academic excellence and future success. And whereas Ms. Angel has demonstrated exceptional dedication to ensuring that students have access to advanced learning opportunities, college and career readiness resources, and the support systems needed to pursue their goals with confidence. And whereas her leadership, professionalism, and collaborative spirit have strengthened partnerships within the district and with community stakeholders, enhancing services and programs that benefit students district-wide. And whereas Ms. Angel's unwavering commitment to equity and excellence has exemplified district's mission to empower every student to achieve their full potential in a safe, supportive, and inclusive environment. And whereas her service reflects the highest ideals of public education and has left a meaningful and lasting legacy of opportunity, advocacy, and student success, one that not only uplifts the lives of individual students, but also strengthens our schools, enriches our families, and contributes to the long-term viability and well-being of our entire Columbus community. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Columbus City Schools Board of Education that this board does hereby recognize and celebrate Miss Maria Angel for her outstanding service to Columbus City Schools and extends its sincerest appreciation for her many contributions to students, families, and staff of this district. That is a motion.
Second. Mr. Treasurer, we can call the roll, and then we'll allow her the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Vice President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
President Cole?
Excitedly, yes. Motion passes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I never wanted to be anywhere else than Columbus. I graduated from Ohio State. It was a second degree, and so this wasn't my first career. And I even kept saying, much to the chagrin of the HR department, I said, no, not just yet. I'm a little nervous yet. I don't want to sign on the dotted line. And so a week before school started, I had actually been offered a job to teach adult ed. And I said, you know what, maybe I should really reconvene and call up Columbus City Schools and just try one more time. And lo and behold, Marie Tooker, who they all know behind me, and who is still out there working for HR and trying to recruit the best special educators, she said, you're a teacher? You want to be a tutor? No, I want you in a high school. I have a high school opening. You need to go. And so there was my career. I became a puncher right at that moment, and I've never wanted to be anywhere else. It was important for me to send my children to Columbus City Schools. They both are individuals with autism, as I've been here before representing that, and I wouldn't want them anywhere else. And so I thank my team behind me. I thank the people that have touched my lives and their lives. There's no I in team, as I like to say, and I know that there's plenty of other educators and transition coordinators on my team that are just as deserving. So thank you so much. This is an honor that means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next resolution is in recognition of National Principal Month. I will kick this one off as a motion. Whereas October has been designated as National Principals Month, a time to recognize the vital role that principals play in leading our schools and fostering an environment conducive to learning. And whereas principals are dedicated educational leaders who inspire their staff, motivate their students, and engage their communities. And whereas the contribution of principals extend beyond administrative duties, they are mentors, advocates for student success, and champions of a positive school culture. And champions of a positive school culture. Whereas strong leadership from principals significantly impact student achievement and well-being, making them essential to the success of our educational mission. And now therefore be it resolved that the Columbus Schools Board of Education expresses our heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support. It is through the collective efforts of our dedicated staff that we can continue to make a positive impact and proclaim the month of October as National Principals Month. Be it further resolved that we encourage all members of the community to recognize and celebrate the hard work and dedication of our principals during this month. That is a motion.
Second.
It is moved and seconded. May we call the roll?
Sir. President Cole.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Vice President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Vera.
Yes.
Ms. Ingles.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
All right, motion passes. What I'd like to have the opportunity to do, because I see some of my good friends and principals in the audience, we have Dr. Philippa Carey. We also have or I think it's Doctor, and if it's not, I'm going to call you that anyway. But Dr. McCrory, and we also have my good friend, Dr. Christian Angel. Can you all come up and join us, please? Thank you for being here this evening. You have a few opportunities to offer a few words. Please.
Draw straws. Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you so much for this recognition. I'm Dr. Reneen Carey. Philippa is my first name, but I go by Reneen, and I am a proud principal of West Broad Elementary School. This is my 5th year in the district, and I am I went to school here. I graduated from Eastmoor, and I'm glad to be back working for a place that I love. Thank you.
Again, just to kind of reiterate what's already been said before, I'm very, very thankful and blessed to be a part of Columbus City Schools and have the honor to lead Lyndon McKinley STEM Academy, home of the Panthers. I'm not originally from Ohio or Columbus in particular, but coming here, being with those students, being with that community, being with those that staff, I found a home. So again, thank you, and really appreciate this recognition.
You.
If I hadn't known I was going to have to talk, I wouldn't have came. No. No, thank you so much for the recognition, not just for me, but all of my colleagues, principals, assistant principals, past principals that come back and support and pour into us, because we could not do this without all of the principals that went before us. And then thank you again to the board and Superintendent Chapman. I'm Christian Angel. I'm the principal for Columbus Online Academy. I'm also the principal for the Support Center, and I'm also the principal for VCAP. And I graduated from Mifflin High School, class of 1997. So leaders are truly grown here. And I didn't start off in this district as a principal. I came back as soon as I graduated from college in 2002 as a substitute teacher. So I thank you for the many years that I've spent in Columbus City Schools and how I've grown as a leader truly from a student all the way up to now. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Sometimes this can be such thankless work. We want to make sure that everybody feels appreciated here. All right, we will move on to our next resolution, which is to recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We will move to Board Member Reyes.
Thank you, President Cole. So this board resolution for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I just first want to state that I encourage everyone, including our men, to get their mammograms, as it will save a life. So I just want to start with that before I read the resolution. As a breast cancer survivor myself. Whereas October is recognized as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness about the impact of breast cancer on individuals and families throughout our community and beyond. And breast cancer affects millions of individuals and families, each of whom faces this disease with immense courage and resilience. And we acknowledge the sacrifices and hardships faced with breast cancer, as well as the emotional toll it takes on family and loved ones who provide unwavering support during this challenging journey. And it is essential to honor those who have bravely fought this disease, those who have continued to fight, and those who have succumbed to breast cancer, as their strength inspires us to take action and advocate for increased research and support. And by raising awareness and promoting education about breast cancer, we can foster a greater understanding of prevention, early detection, and treatment options, ultimately contributing to the future where fewer lives are impacted by this illness. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Columbus City Schools Board of Education, do hereby recognize October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We encourage every member of our organization and community to participate in awareness initiatives, screening, honor survivors, and support research and resources dedicated to this cause. And be it further resolved that we commit to fostering an environment of understanding and compassion, and we express our solidarity with all individuals and families affected by breast cancer. Together, we can make a difference.
That is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Can we call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes. Before we move on to our next bit of board matters, I wanted the opportunity for us to take a picture with our sister colleague, Ramona Reyes. She is a survivor and has been a blessing to me in this work. and to our organization. We could have invited any organization here, but I really wanted this to be an opportunity to share our flowers with you in acknowledgement of your surviving of breast cancer. I have a personal experience with breast cancer. I do not like cancer at all. My daughter, my oldest child, lost her mother to a 3-year fight with breast cancer. And, I'm just grateful that there are some folks here to still be able to tell us why they're glad to be around and making the place worth more while to be around. So thank you. Let's take a photo together, please.
What?
All right. Thank you, colleagues, for that indulgence. We will move forward to what is our monitoring of Goal 1, which is to strengthen reading proficiency. So thank you, Dr. Chapman, for being here with us this evening.
Good evening.
You're ready when you are.
Perfect. Good evening, President Cole, Vice President Adair, members of the board, and community members. Tonight we are privileged to have the opportunity to discuss our early literacy goal and provide a monitoring report. Before we begin, I certainly would like to take a moment to recognize and thank all of our teachers, our building principals, and support staff. Their commitment, hard work, and resilience are the driving force behind this work. It's important to honor their contributions this evening. Again, we are pleased to provide an update on the district's progress in early literacy. Tonight's monitoring report will focus specifically on third grade reading, highlighting our progress, the challenges we continue to address, and the next steps in our work. As you know, third grade is a pivotal milestone for our students, serving as a strong predictor of their future academic success. Tonight, we'll review the results of the Ohio State Test in Reading for our third grade students from the spring, and I've invited Dr. Brown to share our current performance data.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm pleased to say that our scores for the prior year still remain above what we observed in 23-24 and are the second highest scores that we've seen post-pandemic. There was, however, a drop from the prior year, which places below our goal for this year. I spoke about this about a month ago when I came before the board. I think it is some important context, and we usually don't go into this, but reading scores dropped across the entire state in nearly every grade measured. And when we look post-pandemic, Columbus has shown greater improvement in post-pandemic reading in grade 3 than the state. And matter of fact, in every grade but grade 8, we have shown greater growth than the state as a whole over that window of time. This, again, true of almost all the grades with the exception of grade 8. Those gains, again, were partially maintained for all but 2 student groups. This is despite the drop in third grade reading performance that was observed statewide. All but multiracial and English learners have higher achievement scores than were observed in 23-24. And again, when we look at this and we look at the changes over time, again, maintained for almost all the student groups. Multiracial students, while they didn't maintain the gain, they're still above our board goal for that group. On the other hand, English learners, they represent our fastest growing group, and we talked about this last time as well, that it's a variable group. It's one that comes in and has varying needs over time based on the English skills that they come with. And the ELA measure, by its very nature, has to be done in English, which really puts them at a disadvantage when they're taking this test. Dr. Chapman?
Student outcomes focused governance model. I'll spend the next few minutes addressing our plan that we are putting in place due to the fact that we are short of meeting the goal for third grade literacy based on how our third graders achieved during spring testing. Research consistently shows that teacher effectiveness is the single most in-school factor influencing student achievement. With this in mind, our initial theory of action emphasized the importance of instructional delivery, ensuring that teachers provide clear, rigorous, and engaging instruction that challenges students, checks their understanding, and promotes active learning. This focus on the quality and daily teaching was the foundation of our previous theory of action, guiding how we approached early literacy instruction across the district. After reflecting on our data and current practices, we have made a decision to pivot. This is a similar practice our teachers do every day in the classroom. When students are not grasping a content, our teachers change course and utilize a different strategy to be more effective with students. Similarly, as a district, we have used this same process to meet the needs of all of our students in schools, bringing us to a refined theory of action to guide us in their work. An analysis of last school year's Learning Walk tool data revealed that learning assessments consistently receive the lowest ratings across all content areas, highlighting a critical area for improvement. Because planning for how teachers are going to assess student learning throughout their lesson is central to the learning design process, strengthening this is a top priority. This intentional backward planning approach ensures that instruction is purposefully aligned by first identifying desired results, then determining the assessment evidence needed to measure those outcomes, and finally designing meaningful learning experiences and instruction that support student success. We have refined our theory of action to focus more specifically on designing high-quality Tier 1 instruction for all students. If we implement Tier 1 instruction with fidelity, there will be increases in student learning reflected in both improved growth as well as achievement by third grade. The central question we ask, are we committed to using the district's resources and curricular resources to deliver grade-level content, setting clear expectations for student learning, and planning for feedback and monitoring? By tightening our focus in this way, we are better able to support consistent, high-quality instruction across all classrooms. Over the past several years, we've taken deliberate and strategic steps to strengthen the district's overall literacy health. Each year, our focus has been on ensuring that every school has access to high-quality instructional resources, a well-structured MTSS system, and highly trained educators prepared to meet the diverse needs of our students. Our school teams engage in continuous literacy data review to guide instructional decisions and adjust supports as needed. At the district level, we mirror that same process, analyzing data trends and responding with increased supports, including expanded and more intensive Tier 2 and Tier 3 literacy interventions to ensure every student receives the right level of instruction and intervention. It should be noted that more students are demonstrating comprehension skills, indicating that instruction and interventions are helping students build foundational comprehension skills and gradually close gaps. It is also important to note that 28 of our elementary schools have earned 3 stars or more on their state ratings. While this is a strong sign of progress, the results are not yet consistent across the district. Over the past 3 years, we have invested over $18 million in curriculum, professional development, and family engagement. These are long-term investments that will require sustained implementation and monitoring to achieve their full impact. Research shows that it takes 3 to 5 years of consistent implementation to achieve sustained literacy growth. Last year, all of our elementary teachers completed training in letters and the science of reading, which is recognized nationally as the premier professional development in early literacy. This training required a significant investment of time to ensure every educator, over 1,300 teachers, had a strong foundation in the science behind how students learn to read. It took us 3 years to train all of our teachers. Now that our teachers have that knowledge, our next step is to focus on helping them apply it fully through our Tier 1 core curriculum. The key to success is staying the course and allowing our investments the time needed to deliver the long-term impact our students deserve. It is important to recognize that growth does not always equate to proficiency. Gaps persist in several areas. Student learning continues to be impacted by inconsistent attendance and access to interventions. During the previous school year, 24-25 school year, 42% of our third grade students were identified as chronically absent, missing 10 or more days of instruction, a factor that significantly affects achievement. We also continue to see challenges with fidelity of the implementation of all of our curricular resources. To reach proficiency, students need both equitable access to resources and consistent high-quality use of instructional practices. Time is another significant factor. Within the structure of a school day, many essential components compete for limited instructional minutes. A typical elementary student schedule includes 120 minutes of literacy, 60 minutes of math, 30 minutes of science and social studies, 30 minutes of intervention, 30 minutes for lunch, 30 minutes for recess, and 45 minutes for specials or unified arts, which include art, music, PE, and library. With so many priorities fitting into a finite schedule, ensuring the depth of learning across all areas remains a challenge. One of our board members posed a question prior to this monitoring report that I wanted to respond to here. The question was, how do staff feel specifically about the literacy block? Are they recommending any changes given our performance and data? The response is, at this time, district staff, teachers, administrators, and instructional leaders have expressed a shared concern regarding the limited instructional time available within the school day to fully meet the academic and social-emotional needs of our students. This is particularly evident in balancing the instructional demands of both literacy and math, while also providing targeted interventions and opportunities for social-emotional learning. Despite these time constraints, it is important to note that our current literacy block structure remains grounded in research and best practice, reflecting what the science of reading identifies as essential components for effective literacy instruction. The literacy block includes dedicated time for explicit, systematic instruction in phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, along with intentional opportunities for whole group, small group, and independent practice. These components are designed to ensure a comprehensive approach to literacy that meets the diverse needs of all learners. Finally, writing performance continues to lag, particularly in elaboration, purpose, and conventions. Addressing this will require more explicit writing instruction embedded within daily literacy instruction to strengthen students' ability to communicate effectively. The gaps we see between student groups are the result of several interconnected factors. First, again, access to strong Tier 1 instruction has not always been uniform across all classrooms across the district, which contributes to inconsistent outcomes in student performance. While many classrooms are delivering high-quality, standards-aligned instruction, variability in implementation means that not all students are consistently experiencing rigorous, evidence-based literacy experiences on a daily basis. Second, intervention delivery is not always consistent. Students who require the most intensive supports are not always receiving them at the frequency, duration, or level of fidelity needed to accelerate progress. In some cases, interventions are underutilized, while in others, they may not be closely aligned to student needs. This inconsistency in practice creates gaps in how well schools are able to support their most vulnerable learners. Finally, chronic absenteeism, again, disproportionately impacts certain groups of students, compounding instructional challenges. For example, students who miss significant amounts of instructional time often experience disrupted learning trajectories, making it more difficult to close existing gaps. These external factors, combined with variability in instruction and intervention, help explain why achievement disparities remain, even as we celebrate areas of growth. This slide gives a snapshot of the grade 3 literacy block, which we've already discussed. Again, it breaks down the dedicated time allocated to the literacy block for all of our students in elementary school. When we think about the literacy block, it's not only these core components, but it's also students need to receive 30 minutes of Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention each day. This time is reserved for the most intensive, targeted support provided in small group or one-on-one settings to directly address gaps in phonics, fluency, comprehension, or writing. Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions are provided separately, as each level of support requires its own dedicated 30-minute block of instructional time to ensure targeted and effective intervention for student-specific needs. And now we'll take a look at a sample grade 3 OST question. This sample question highlights the level of rigor our third graders are expected to meet on the state assessment. Aligned to Ohio's ELA standards for informational text, the question requires students not only to identify the main idea, but also to explain cause and effect relationships using evidence from the passage. In this example about bees, students must demonstrate comprehension by explaining why bees are important to both nature and people, while also identifying the problems bees face. A strong response from a third grader includes text-based evidence, such as bees helping plants grow through pollination and scientists studying causes like pesticides or habitat loss. This illustrates how students are being asked to move beyond basic recall and instead integrate key details, explain their significance, and support their thinking with direct evidence in writing, skills that are critical for success in reading, writing, and future academic work. To accelerate district-wide progress, we plan to replicate and scale the practices from our highest performing schools. These schools are schools that earn 3 or more stars on the state report card, demonstrate that when strong Tier 1 instruction is delivered consistently and families are engaged as true partners, student achievement rises. Our goal is to take what works in these settings and make it the norm across the district. Specifically, we will scale the evidence-based Tier 1 instructional practices that ensure every student has daily access to grade-level content, explicit modeling, and opportunities for guided practice and feedback. We will also expand the family engagement strategies that have proven successful in building strong homeschool connections. Strategies such as consistent two-way communication, equipping families with practical tools to support learning at home, and involving parents and caregivers as active partners in setting goals for students. By codifying and sharing these best practices, providing professional development, and supporting school leaders in monitoring their implementation, we'll create coherence across the district. This intent is not only to lift underperforming schools and practices, but also to ensure that all students, regardless of school assignment, benefit from the same level of high-quality instruction, consistent support, and strong family partnerships that drive success in our highest-performing schools. I would like to pause here and respond to a question posed by another board member prior to our monitoring report. The question was about additional resources our staff recommend to be used outside of the classroom by caregivers, families, and community stakeholders to provide additional instruction to help our third graders who are below their proficiency goal. Our response, certainly we encourage and support. Continue to have conversations with our families about making sure they know. I say this is the student's literacy address, knowing exactly how your child is performing in literacy. We have a variety of reports that we send home. This is the end of the first marking period, so all of our parents have an opportunity to check in now with their child's teacher, see their report card, but know how their child is performing on their report card and know exactly how they're performing in literacy. In addition, we provide grade level readers, small books that our students can read at their grade level so that they can continue practicing their reading development beyond the classroom. In addition, our Pathway Express program and Back to School Fair provide families with high-quality resources that promote language and literacy development. We also encourage our families to take advantage of our public library system, which offers a wide range of reading programs and materials to strengthen literacy skills, and just as importantly, to foster a lifelong love of learning and reading in our students. And as we wrap up, we certainly would like to highlight the elementary buildings that earned an overall rating of 3 stars or more. There are 28 schools in our district that earned 3 or more stars on the 2025 state report card. These schools represent strong progress in academic achievement, student growth, and closing gaps, all indicators of high-quality teaching and learning taking place every day. It's important to note that these results reflect the collective effort of our teachers, our principals, support staff, and families. Each building worked intentionally to align instruction, use data effectively, and provide targeted interventions to meet our students' needs. And we're especially proud that several of these schools demonstrated significant gains in literacy and early learning indicators, which aligns directly with our district focus on improving foundational reading skills through the science of reading and strong Tier 1 instruction. Congratulations to all those 28 schools. I don't see that slide popping up, but there were 28 schools, again, elementary schools across our district that received 3 or more stars on the state report card. Again, in closing, as stated earlier, research consistently shows that teacher effectiveness is the single most important in-school factor influencing student achievement. High-quality teaching has a greater impact on student learning than any other school-based variable, and ensuring that all students have equitable access to effective instruction is critical to closing achievement gaps. We have invested an extensive amount of professional development and support with all of our early literacy teachers on research-based instructional strategies. Now it's necessary to implement those practices with fidelity. The data makes clear that we need greater consistency in our adult practices across the district, and teachers who deliver Tier 1 instruction with fidelity every day have students who experience the benefits of strong evidence-based instruction. School leaders play a vital role in monitoring the fidelity of our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, ensuring that students who require additional support are receiving it consistently and at the right dosage and with the intended design. In addition, educators must make strategic use of high-quality student data to inform their daily practice. This means adjusting instruction in real time, addressing misconceptions as they arise, and providing explicit, timely feedback, particularly in writing, where we continue to see persistent gaps in student performance. By strengthening these core instructional practices and holding ourselves accountable for consistency, we can ensure that every student benefits from the high-quality teaching that they need and deserve. Ultimately, our greatest opportunity for impact lies in making sure that strong teaching practices are not pockets of excellence, but the daily experience of every child in every classroom across the district. We are confident that our updated strategy will be successful because we have already seen clear evidence that when Tier 1 instruction is delivered with fidelity, students across multiple subgroups demonstrate measurable growth. This reinforces the core belief that high-quality, grade-level instruction is the most powerful lever we have to accelerate achievement. Building on this success, our refined approach is intentionally designed to ensure greater consistency across classrooms and deepen the quality of instructional practices and equip educators with the tools and ongoing support they need to drive success. And when we think about the connection to our guardrails, we just want to name that the values that reflected in the guardrails, we want to name that we have been implementing MTSS, multi-tiered systems of supports, to properly resource our classrooms and provide supports for our students. Students make meaningful gains and fewer remain in the lowest performance bands when our schools are implementing that MTSS model. This reinforces the importance of continuing to support MTSS so that every child receives the right level of support at the right time. Success goes beyond test scores. Students are developing confidence, critical thinking, and deeper connections to texts, which reflects a true whole child approach. We're also seeing the benefits of aligning resources equitably as schools with strong supports in place are showing evidence of growth, underscoring the need to ensure every school has access to high-quality learning communities. Finally, our commitment to a culturally responsive staff is vital. When instruction is relevant and students see themselves reflected in what they learn, comprehension deepens, engagement increases, and educators are more effective in meeting the diverse needs of all students. And how can the board support? The board's continued commitment to our established goals, advocating for attendance initiatives to reduce chronic absenteeism, supporting our efforts, our community conversations, and our collective efforts around universal pre-K, and continued partnerships with community organizations that are supporting our work around our early literacy goal would certainly be appreciated. And now we are going to wrap up our presentation, and we are open ourselves and welcome your questions and any questions that you have about our monitoring report.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get started, I always like to do a level set. The first is for us all to understand that this is the practice that we're indulging in right now. The very work we're doing is not so much about a governance model as it much as about being effective board members. This is our effort to effectively ensure that, as best we can, effectively ensure that we're being responsible for identifying what our student outcomes are and how close we are to them or how distant we are from them. So it's important that we understand that this is our opportunity to practice being effective governance leaders as it relates to student outcomes. The other piece is we're all on the same team. As board and as administration, we are all on the same team. We have pressing questions, we have places of concern, but what we want to ensure is that we come with the right energy, we come with the right sensibility, we come ready to engage in the work and derive understanding, meaning of words, nature of them, and significance of them. We have understanding of what it is that has been given to us from an information standpoint. With that in mind, the conversation will focus largely on the who, what, why, and how. We will keep our focus on who, what, why, and how. This is not the opportunity during monitoring discussions to provide advice or, in my instance, wise counsel. It's not that opportunity at this point. What we're here to do in this effective conversation about student outcomes is understand the who, what, why, and how. Is everybody okay with that? Everybody good with that? And I promise you, this is not me trying to be condescending or anything like that. I think it's just important that we come with the right mindset about how to get this done. With that, if you refer to your booklets, there is a green plastic covered page. I see some of you all have it out that talks about ineffective monitoring and effective monitoring, talks about ineffective questions. And then you have on a white page, laminated, that talks about the progress of this and during monitoring, what are the types of questions that we want to focus on. With all of that in mind and all of us in agreement, who has a question? I'll start with Vice President Adair.
Before I have a question, I do want to ask you, because we have not had one that hasn't met its goal in a while, the thing the board is really looking at is whether or not the shift in strategy sounds like it's going to get us to turn it back around. And we didn't get these strategies before, in the monitoring report. We got it here in the board report. And so I know that it hasn't happened for a while because we haven't had one, but we got hung up on this last time we got here about what we were really looking at. So before we dig in, I would just love for us to level set about when we are looking at and doing the analysis on whether or not the shift in strategy in this case that Dr. Chapman presented, what we're looking at to really determine if we feel like that strategy shift. Because it isn't so much the deep dive into the strategy, and that's where we got stuck last time. It's more about the higher level understanding that she's done the analysis to shift the strategy. And I just want to make sure that we are level set, and if that's not an agreement, let's agree to what we're actually doing before we jump in, because we got stuck last time we did.
Well, essentially what we are doing, as I understand it, is we're given a presentation that we've had opportunity to look at over the past 2 weeks minimum. We've had the opportunity to review it. We're looking at data as presented to us that gives us a number of things, gives us theory of action, gives us root causes.
I don't think you understand my question.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, so in the SOFG materials, when we do not have a benchmark that they have met, the board is taking a little bit of a different look at because we have to approve the report. Remember, we got to
Got you,
approve
yes,
it.
we do.
And so once we approve or disapprove of it, we kind of got stuck last time about what we're actually looking at in this type of instance when we go to do the approval. And our coaches are not on today to help us through this.
Nope, no worries.
So I just, because we did get stuck last time and we eventually approved the report, but then we had to come back and do some work about what we were actually approving, if that makes sense.
Got you. So essentially, what's your recommendation to move forward? Is it the idea then that we take that kind of pivot look at what is in the questioning of, and I think some of that is a part of the what aspect of what we're questioning. What is it that shows evidence that this strategy that you've recommended, particularly in your theory of action, will actually work? Where is it that this strategy worked in the past, but maybe didn't account for, or does account for, that drop in 2023, 2024 school year to what we are now in 24, 25? Is that fair to ask like that?
I would
Board
ask
President.
everybody.
Hold on just a moment.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's the way I look at it. I think it's a higher level question about did she have enough evidence to shift the strategy to whatever she's choosing, because that's her role as our CEO and superintendent. Last time, though, we started to get really deep into the weeds of particular strategy, which I don't think is part of monitoring.
No,
and so that's what I'm saying.
Especially when it becomes recommendation. You're absolutely correct.
Before we jump in, just making sure we're all level set on what we should be thinking about, because our ultimate decision point is, are we going to approve this report?
So the ultimate decision point is as per our work, I'm asking us, and the question will come, and it's not an advocacy on my part, the question will come, is there a motion to approve this report? There will be a motion. If there isn't, then we won't. And the opportunity that we have is to table the report and then ask for what it is that we need clarification on. That's how we would otherwise move forward with that. Yes, Dr. Pierce.
If I might, I think the opportunity that we have before us this evening is, given the information and the data that the superintendent and her team presented, we have a goal that has not quite met target. Her team has implemented a strategy That strategy has not worked throughout the entire district, but we do see some elements in some places where it is working well. And tonight, the team is presenting how they will pivot to ensure that we see continued growth. So I think our opportunity tonight is to, in fact, accept the report that our superintendent and her team have looked at the data with fidelity and been very thorough and said, hey, we need to make some shifts. So to me, it seems like we're taking a broader stroke, 360, to look and say, did our team respond adequately to the data that they see? Are we confident that they will be able to implement this pivot of a strategy? That's how I understood the initial question and the work that we need to do. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, just like that's what we're agreeing on to.
All right.
Okay.
So moted B. Okay, so now the floor is open for questions from colleagues. Are there any questions for the superintendent, the administration about the data?
I do have a question.
Please.
Okay. So thank you for this report, and thank you for very well explaining the shift. It was all very helpful. I do have a question about, so the strategy that we implemented that you are shifting was something that was in place for the 22, 23, 23, and 24 school year. Is that right? So we've had the strategy for 2 years?
So we have been implementing providing training for our teachers and investing in resources. And so I've talked about this before, how, previously our strategy was to make investments, right? And so we're still making investments, but those investments are really in our people and making sure that our teachers really understand how to use the resources and are using those resources with fidelity to ensure that every student has access to rigorous, relevant content that has proven to yield to improvement in student outcomes and early literacy. Again, remember, the science of reading, the shift to the science of reading, is backed by over 3 decades of research that explains how students learn how to read. And so we've made those investments in previous years in terms of purchasing materials, providing our educators with training. They've taken the highest level of training, the letters training, foundations training. We've made those investments in resources, and so now that shift and pivot is on the quality of the implementation and the fidelity of the implementation of those resources, making sure that all of the valuable time we spent a lot of time talking about that literacy block. Want to make sure that we're maximizing that instructional time during the literacy block using these high-quality instructional materials that we've invested in.
Totally makes sense. But it's 2 years we've been using the previous strategy, right? And so between the first and second year, we had a really high level of growth on that strategy. And then this year we saw, almost all the gain go down. And that's why we're making the shift. But was it adults or was it children that really were causing that drop? Because you mentioned, again, the ELL students, and we just saw different demographics come in and different needs. And that is why we're shifting to this different strategy of the more targeted Tier 1. Or was it truly that we just got all the life we could out of that first strategy with training? Because I guess I'm like, what was it that really caused what was the root cause of it, of the drop? Because, we're teaching our teachers how to do the science of reading, right? We're implementing, they're getting the training on it. But in that period, we saw a lot of growth.
So, if I may, this is part of why I included the comparisons with state. You could ask the same question of the state as a whole. Why did reading scores go down in 3rd grade across the entire state as a whole last year? And went down across most grade levels in reading with the exception of grade 8. So, there was a systematic change in reading performance across the entire state. That being said, the pivot to fidelity of implementation is the right strategy moving forward. You know, to your point, perhaps we plateaued with the basic PD, and now it really is getting down into implementation. As I've talked about before, never expected growth or change, growth in proficiency to be a linear process. There'd be ups and downs on it. And when I see a vast sort of drop across the entire state, I start wondering about, again, systematic things across the state. If you look at the state's press release around that, they attribute it to an implementation dip around the science of reading, which the rest of the state's a little bit behind on. I would also wonder about implementation of different maybe passages in the ELA exams that may have increased the difficulty a little bit and were observed systematically across the state as well. That being said, again, fidelity of implementation is I think the appropriate strategy moving forward.
That was actually my next question was, did we know if anything in this test changed? And you kind of...
We don't look at the tests when they're being administered.
Well, right. But I mean, I don't know if the state changed...
The state frequently...
Rigor, like you said, something about...
So the state typically introduces new passages all the time. They have to refresh items. Because they introduce passages and items associated with passages, that sometimes can be very hard to equate. I've done a lot of test development. Sometimes introducing a few items can cause things to swing a little bit in terms of the difficulty of the assessment. If we were unique, if we were an outlier and our scores went down and everybody else's went up, I'd say, okay, there's something interesting here. But the fact that, again, across the state as a whole, the scores came down, that gives me pause to say, okay, there's something systematic going on across the state. And again, if you look at our growth post-pandemic to the state, we've been on the right trajectory across most grade levels relative to the state as a whole.
My last question is, to get now up to our next goal of 40.5%, that's about 5 more points. Are we thinking we're going to be on target with the strategies that are now going to be implemented in terms of targeting Tier 1 instruction, which is overall instruction, rather than the more focused, targeted Tier 2 or 3?
I can give an answer to that. I think really focusing on Tier 1 instruction is the core. It's where we start. Certainly, I think you heard the superintendent talk about blocks for intervention. The team is working on Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions as well. But it all starts with first instruction, Tier 1, and making Tier 1 accessible to all students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I ask my question, Dr. Pierce, did you have a question?
I think my question kind of echoes a question that we asked early on since we've started these monitoring reports is how much of the variance can be explained by our theories of action? And so my question to the team is at a later date, can you send an email out to the board just to let us know how much variance can be accounted by each one of these strategies and theories of action as it relates to this particular monitoring report?
I'm not sure that I'm, if you,
So,
you don't have to explain now, but if we could have a conversation so I can make sure that I'm clear about what's being asked.
So I think it might be good to explain. Vice President Adair brought up the question around at one particular point, 23-24, we were at 40.7% proficiency. This year, 24-25, we dropped to 35.9 proficiency, right? And so for the 2 years prior to that, I thought our theory of action was twofold. We were working on attendance and PD for the teachers, right? And so if we're able to look and say, okay, attendance is going to account for 20% of that 40.7% that we see, then we know the other 20% is coming from the fidelity of instruction. So can we get to the point where we're explaining what is the variance or how does each theory of action or strategy account for the growth that we see?
So that's the question.
Yes, and I don't know that we can certainly take that back for additional feedback and conversation, but I don't know that we can rule out one variable versus another to say that our achievement is a result of this variable because all of them are important. When we think about chronic absenteeism, over 40% of our students are not attending school regularly. The basis behind the science of reading is systematic, explicit instruction every day in that literacy block. So if a student is missing phonics instruction every day, they're not getting the sequential, systematic, explicit instruction that they need. Is that a factor? Absolutely. It's going to contribute and serve as a barrier and a hindrance to the student accessing the skills and the content that they need to be successful. In addition to that, thinking about the access and the experiences that students need, the high-quality learning experiences, if those experiences are not consistent, that's also a factor that will certainly have an impact on student outcomes and the student learning experience. So we can.
So where I think the disconnect might be coming in for not just our board, but also community members, if we say that attendance is important, but now we're thinking about, do we cut transportation, right? But then we say that we need students in class with every day so they can get these instruction with fidelity, like we're creating confusion. So at some point, we have to be able to say, what's the balance that we're looking for, right? So if we know that students are going to miss every now and then because of dealing with home insecurities, dealing with a variety of factors, are we sending home particular bags with parents and with caregivers? So, hey, whenever your child misses, we need you to log in using the materials that are in your bag. Like at some point, we have to start to understand what is the balance between the theory of action that we're taking and the strategies that we are implementing to deal with the very real realities that our community, our district, and our students are facing.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So thank you for that question. I think, bless you again, bless you infinity. I think the question at hand is the way to possibly frame this is what other strategies what types of information can the board be better equipped with to better understand the gap between what's been happening in the past and what is happening now? What impacted that delta? What created that delta? Is there a way for us to get some additional information to better understand that? I think that's the question to effectively ask without going into the space of actually giving you direction on particular things, if I'm making sense. But I think both my colleagues are in a very synonymous space. And more directly, my vice president asking the question about what was adult behavior versus the child behavior. I think that we understand the chronic absenteeism, and chronic absenteeism for folks who may be listening doesn't just entail a kid didn't make it to school. It doesn't just entail that a kid didn't make it to school because they were excused or unexcused. It also includes kids who make it late to class. So please understand, for folks who are listening, I think it's really important to understand what absenteeism really is, what's encapsulated in that, and how important an all-hands-on-deck effort it takes to ensure that students are not only just in the building, but that they're in the building where they're supposed to be in the building on time, by the bell. So let's just understand that. I digress. Now, but I want to get back to that to the adult behavior side versus the child behavior side. We've gotten some clear allusions to that, but to her question as well, what I've seen over this past several years is that we have progressively, in fact, leading the state, have executed in the science of reading. We've seen the gains as a result of that. You mentioned, as a part of your theory of action, looking to more standardize the Tier 1 instruction and ensure cross-the-board fidelity. Got you on that, no argument. The case, though, is how much of that actually attributed to, how much of that adult behavior of not standardizing or demonstrating that tier 1 instruction the way that we're asking across the board, how much did that play into that decrease in the 40 percentile to where we are right now on 35 point something? 35.9? Let me go back to it.
That's where we're at.
Yep. So I see 23, school year 23, 24, 40.7, 24, 25, 35, and 9/10. How much of that was, or can we account to adult behavior? How much of that is actually the fact that tier 1 just hasn't had the strength that it needs to have throughout the district entirely with our early childhood learners?
A couple of things. One, again, I'm going to come back to reading scores dropped across the entire state.
I hear, if I can, and let me just give me just a moment. I promise you, I don't mean to just be disrespectful in that place. I think you've made the case that there's been a state decline, right? But in every situation, there's something that we as the organization need to own. And I want to be sure that we leave here understanding what is it about what's happening, whether it's happening throughout the state or not as a phenomenon. How much of that are we actually owning as our adult behavior in this space?
So if I may.
Yes, sir.
Again, just for context, we know that scores dropped around the state as a whole. We know that our attendance is not as strong as we would like. We know from observation that there's not as much fidelity across the system as perhaps we would desire. To really tease out the individual impacts of those things is rather challenging when they all happen at the same time. And that's just being forthright. I can go back to the research team and see how we might mathematically try to tease some of that out. But generally speaking, when you're trying to tease out cause and effect with multiple factors in it, you need to set up the research conditions to be able to tease out and isolate what you're trying to look at. And that often doesn't happen in a system of our size when all those things happen at the same time and we're trying to look backward. If we were looking forward, we could set up the comparisons that would allow that, but going backward, those things happened at the same time and teasing them apart mathematically can be a little challenging.
Dr. Chapman, do you have it?
Yes, I just want to share that a couple of comments. One, just want to name that teaching reading is rocket science. And so when we think about when we're talking about adult behaviors or student behaviors, there are a number of factors that would prohibit from us from really achieving that desired state when we're thinking about just the literacy block. We recognize and name the time is a number one constraint. There could be multiple reasons why that literacy block is interrupted during the course of the day. Not because anyone doesn't have a bad intention. Everyone has the best intention. So when our students come to school and they may have social emotional needs that need to be addressed, that means that we're going to take the time to address those needs before they are even ready to engage in instruction. We named chronic absenteeism. There are multiple reasons why our students are chronically absent. That includes excused absences and unexcused absences. Making up for that lost time. Time is the X factor here in terms of ensuring that our students have time on task and access to high quality resources, materials, and instruction every day. And so time usually is the X factor and the variable that certainly yields to different results, I would say.
Okay. Thank you for that, Dr. Pierce.
So, Dr. Chapman, I think you just mentioned something very differently that's important to this conversation, chronic absenteeism. How do we define chronic absenteeism? How many days is it?
10 or more unexcused absences, or 10 or more absences. It includes excused absences as well as unexcused absences. Chronic absenteeism is looking at the number of days that students are not in school for any given reason. Means they've missed an instructional day or instructional time, regardless of the reason. They are chronically absent from school and missing quality instruction.
So I think that's the important element for our colleagues to understand, that when we're talking about attendance, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's really focused on making sure that we do not have students who are in chronic absenteeism, right? We want to make sure that they're coming to school, because if they miss that 10 or more of any time, then we're starting to see effects on our goals. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Vice President Adair, and then Board Member Simmons.
Sorry, one more. So you just said, I think you said, that part of the root cause of this is time, not having time for that instruction. You gave all those examples. So your theory of action that you're adjusting to, I don't know if we want to put that back up on the screen, I think it's slide 9, talks about implementing Tier 1 instruction with fidelity focused on learning design. Does that address what you just said about time?
So yes, it does, because we're talking about how we use our time. So for example, if we have students in front of us, a third grade classroom, we have agency over the day and how we allocate our time. So go back to the slide that showed the literacy block. We are going to dedicate and prioritize time on task for reading, for writing, for phonics, for systematic instruction. Again, the increments that we have allocated for that time on task are mission critical for our students needing that time to develop the skills that they need to be successful. Now, what we can't control is if a student is not coming to school. And that's why we have to do all of this work proactively to ensure that all of our students get to school. For a variety of reasons why our students are absent, we have to triage that and get to the root cause of why each student is not attending school. But once they're in our classrooms, again, time on task and how we allocate our time, ensuring that if we're teaching third grade, I am using third grade content and resources as I'm teaching my third graders. It would not be acceptable to use first grade resources for that core instructional piece, because then that means that our students are missing out on access and opportunity to rigorous grade level content. If students need intervention and they need support, that should happen during the intervention block, not the core instructional literacy block. And so we have to make sure that that is a practice that is standardized across all of our classrooms, across all of our buildings, because one of the biggest challenges, we know that our students are capable. We know that when they're given the opportunity, the practice, and the exposure and those experiences, that they will rise to the challenge. And so this is not a question about whether or not our students are capable. This is a question about how we organize our time and how we allocate and prioritize the best instructional practices that our students deserve.
Before I get to you, Dr. Pierce, hold on to that. I want to be fair to Board Member Simmons.
Thank you, President Cole. Dr. Chapman, in the past when we've had monitoring reports and we've seen the data move in the opposite direction, because while I do think it's true that this is the first report we've had under the goal in some time, it is our third summative report in a row to see the data begin to move in the opposite direction. Our November 2024 math summative, the graduation summative we received last month, and now this report. And in the past, when we've asked either during board meetings or during our 2x2s about strategies, what are we seeing to suggest that it's time to make a change, the response has typically been, well, it's important to allow the strategies to have time to implement and to trickle down throughout the system. And so my question is, what about this particular goal and the data we're seeing kind of indicated to you that it was time to make a shift? Is it because the decrease was maybe more substantial than our other goals, or could you just elaborate on that a little bit? And then I have a second question for after that.
Thank you, Board Member Simmons, for that question. Certainly, the data is always an indicator. But in addition to this summative data, we're looking at how our students performed on the OST. We also have formative assessments, which again give us a signal in terms of how we are performing and where those gaps are. We also have our interim goals that ladder up to the third grade goals. So we're monitoring our progress in kindergarten. We're monitoring our students' progress in first grade as well as second grade. So all of those data points and metrics, different assessments, also give us, provide us an opportunity to look at our data in different ways. But in addition to that, I would say our classroom observations, visiting classrooms, talking with our educators, talking with our principals. So that's the work of being in our schools and being in our classrooms and understanding not only the challenges, but also the opportunities, and taking a close look at examining our instructional practices across the district. In addition to that, we highlighted several of our schools that are seeing steady progress. We have pockets of excellence, and so those schools, and we are able to clearly see what's happening in those school communities and how they are moving the needle, and that gives us a greater indication of what should be happening in schools where we're not seeing similar movement. So I hope that answers your question in terms of the leading indicators or the areas that we are looking at as we reflect on the need for improvement and how we continue to focus on improving student outcomes.
Thank you. It certainly does. And then my next question is, in the past when we've asked about during board monitoring sessions about the data moving in the opposite direction, one of the responses has been, well, that's an implementation dip. And when I spoke with our governance coach about that, one of his suggestions was that if there's going to be an implementation dip, that should really be something that is forecasted by the administration and predicted. And so as you begin to refine the theory of action, are you anticipating that we will see an additional implementation dip in the data?
I would say no, not an implementation dip, because we're staying the course with implementing the resources that we've already invested in. We're not making another huge investment in new resources or new training. We are refining and developing the skills and the resources for the existing resources. So there's not a science of reading 2.0 adoption that's coming. Again, like most of the districts across the state, we have been heavily invested in implementing the science of reading. And so when the state talked about the implementation dip that the state has observed in their data, they reference an implementation dip. And so I would say that we have made those investments, we have made those sacrifices in time and professional development and adoption of those resources.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman.
Thank you, Board Member Simmons. Dr. Pierce.
My question goes back to the time element. You indicated that it's managing time. Is there any way, are there constraints that are keeping us from increasing our literacy block time frame? So earlier you said like 30 minutes for gym, 45 minutes for extracurriculars.
I would say the length of the school day for elementary school students is a constraint. So trying to ensure that our students have all of those components of the literacy block within the school day. So this is just the literacy block, but then they also have to have math instruction, they have to have science instruction, they have to have social studies instruction. And so for a lot of our elementary teachers, they have tried to do their best to integrate the subjects so that they're not teaching explicit content separately to maximize that time. And so it takes, again, teaching reading is rocket science because you have to be really skillful at managing the time that you have on task. And if you've ever been in a classroom with elementary school students, there are multiple distractions that happen during the course of the day. Everyone has the best intentions, but there are multiple distractions that happen during the course of the school day that may prevent the literacy block spending 15 to 20 minutes on foundational skills. Maybe it's 10. because there was a disruption. Maybe it was 5 minutes on background knowledge, or we didn't get to that, we had to skip it altogether. So there are multiple reasons why the fidelity of the implementation of that literacy block and those key components would not be able to be honored from a day-to-day basis.
All right. Are there any additional questions? If not, is there a willingness for the board to accept the report as presented? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Board Member Simmons has motioned that we accept the report. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Chapman has seconded. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry, Dr. Pierce.
It's all right. We just
Thank
gonna
you.
rock with it today. What
That's
you
all
think
right.
about that? We both got braids, Doc. That's what it is.
There you go.
That's
There
what
you
it
go.
is with the updo. Can we have a point of discussion before we
Very
take
quickly, yes, please.
Just very quickly, I want to acknowledge what I think a couple of board members have shared about ensuring that we get the full report in enough time so we can get you those questions in advance. I will say that this report brought in a lot new information and materials. I think your team did an excellent job at explaining kind of what you've been looking at and how you plan to move forward. And so kudos on the pivot for not only the strategy, but also the pivot in terms of how you presented this work to the board.
All right. It has been motioned and seconded. Mr. Treasurer, may I call the roll, please?
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Ingles.
Yes.
Ms. Vera.
Yes.
Vice President Adair.
Yes.
President Cole.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, board colleagues. I think that our coaches would be proud of us. They'll certainly have some things to share, but I think that they will be quite proud of us this evening for the work that we've been able to complete. We will move on to the agenda for a joint committee update. I will make this very brief. Joint committee update. Last Thursday, we did our second joint committee meeting where we discussed the open enrollment process and transportation. There were certain work recommendations that were brought forth to that committee that were then asked to be moved forward to us for further consideration. That is around some additional looks at policy 8600 for transportation. In addition to that, some re-enrollment pathway. In addition, they discussed with us academic report. For those who want to be able to see the presentations, you may go to, certainly go to our last board meeting. You may look in that agenda and all of those documents are there. But with that, what we will be discussing moving forward, November 13th, Thursday, November 13th, we'll be discussing the human capital side of this. That will largely encompass staff. I've shared with many of you publicly and otherwise that of every dollar the district spends, 83 cents of that dollar goes towards salaries and benefits. 83 cents of each $1 spent in the district goes towards salaries and benefits. The remaining 17 deal with non-personnel matters. Much of what we've spent discussing in the last two joint committees between transportation, building closure, and consolidation. We've had those rich discussions and we'll continue them. But moving forward, we're going to get more into the space where we've got to make some very tough decisions and have very rich and substantive dialogue around decisions that we have to make in the future that deal with the human capital side of this. So with that, that concludes the update for joint committee. And again, I welcome folks to join us next week, Monday through Wednesday, at South, West, and Mifflin, 6 o'clock. Join us, 5 o'clock. The doors open and refreshments will be provided. We'd love to have you, have you a part of the reimagination process and learn to glean from you what it is you want to see the board prioritize moving forward. All right, my good friend, Board Member Ingles, we're going to move right into the rescission of Policy 5136, personal communication devices.
All right, thank you, Board President Cole. So the board last meeting discussed and voted to adopt two new policies. and that is the electronic equipment and devices policy and what is now the cell phone policy. We divided what was one full and somewhat convoluted policy into two to make it more clear for our families. What we didn't do was rescind the old policy, and what Neola, our policy provider, is requiring is that we need to do so, and the policy that we adopted that is called the electronic equipment and devices will have to be labeled 5136.01, and the cell phone policy will be labeled 5136.02, because Neola wants to save and will only accept 5136 as their full version of the policy. And so what I'm recommending to this board is that we don't touch the other two policies. They can be renumbered. Substantively, they're the same. But what I'm asking is that we actually formally rescind the old policy so that the numbering system can get set up in the Neola system the way that it needs to go.
So is that a motion for this evening?
So I will move to rescind what was 5136.
Is that a second motion then seconded? Can we call a roll?
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Vera? Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes. All right, thank you, Board Member Ingles. All right, we will move on into our executive reports. Madam Superintendent, is there anything additional to share?
Just a few things, highlights. Today was a day of great conversation all around our city and throughout our district. CCS participated in the Big Table conversations. I had the opportunity to participate in the Big Table conversation at Northland High School today, where students, staff, and community members came together to share ideas, experiences, and hopes for the future. It was inspiring to see our young people leading these discussions openly and thoughtfully modeling what it means to listen, learn, and lead together. And across the district, our superintendent student ambassadors facilitated Big Table conversations at Columbus Alternative High School, Centennial High School, Lyndon McKinley, and West High School today. Their leadership and genuine curiosity remind us that the best ideas often come from those closest to the classroom. I want to thank their advisor, Mia Pruitt, for her guidance in helping our students use their voices to make a difference and facilitate these important community-driven conversations. Also, President Cole, you mentioned this earlier, but I also want to again invite our entire community to join us at our upcoming Our Future, Our CCS Town Hall workshops. These sessions will be held on October 27th at South High School, October 28th at West High School, and October 29th at Mifflin High School. Doors open at 5 p.m. The sessions will begin at 6. Each event will include interactive discussions about the future of our schools, including facilities, transportation, lottery, and budgeting. This is an opportunity for our community to share ideas, ask questions, and help shape the next chapter of Columbus City Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. And I did get that right, Dr. Chapman.
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Pierce. Moving on, Mr. Internal Auditor, do you have anything for us this evening? And welcome.
Good evening. Nothing this evening.
All right, thank you, good sir. Mr. Treasurer, do you have anything for us this evening, good sir?
I do, one item. Good evening. Item 23.1, I'm asking for authorization to refund just over $176 million in our bonds. It's an opportunity that's come about. This is our 2016 tranche. We're eligible when they're 10 years in to take a look at saving our taxpayers some money. And so I'm asking for authorization to begin that process. This will kick into motion an offering statement, ratings calls with S&P, Moody's, to look at our financial viability. Then we will go back out to investors to more or less, like you would do with a mortgage sometimes, refinance our debt. We're not extending that time frame. We're just simply recognizing savings that the market is presenting. I believe if the market continues to hold next week, the Fed's going to meet, and they could reduce rates again. So we're in a positive environment to begin exploring this refunding. And if we did it today, it's between 8 and 10 million in savings. I expect that to continue to grow as the Fed continues to reduce interest rates. So positive news.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, so very much. This, again, is how the organization as a whole is thinking about those very strategic ways in which we can leverage our opportunity to find savings. As much as we have had these initial discussions about cuts, we're also trying to identify spaces where we can provide savings in any side of the house. So I greatly appreciate this information and look forward to whatever's to come in the future.
I'll certainly keep you updated.
Thank you, good sir. With that, we will move on into approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda is comprised of 8.1, Section 8.1 to Section 25.1. 23.7. What am I looking at? Forgive me for that. Yes. So we are 23.6, actually. At least it's what's showing in mine.
Yes.
Or 24.1. 24.1.
No,
24.1 separate.
So we're
23.6 is the final.
Okay. All right.
You're good.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Now, in other legislation, it's 24.1. Do we approve this separately, yes?
Correct, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve 24.1?
Motion to approve 24.1.
Motioned,
Second.
seconded. Call the roll.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
I must abstain, and I want to wish my mother a happy retirement.
Duly noted.
All right.
President Cole?
Yes, and
Motion
happy
carried.
retirement.
Motion
Happy new sunrise, yeah. All right. Madam Vice President, can you move us into
Yes.
executive session?
It is recommended the Board of Education move immediately into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 12122G1 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing. That is a motion.
Motion, seconded. Call the roll.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
Ms. Ingles?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Vice President Adair?
Yes.
President Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Good evening, everyone. Travel home safely. Thank you for joining us this evening.